Alright, guys, we are back here to continue discussing this. That was something that was huge, obviously. So as soon as Amik Roberts went down in the early portion of the game, you're thinking like this team, like they can't do anything to avoid injuries, right? They were already to the bare bones of it, and then one of their best performing guys who kind of broke through in the postseason, especially against Justin Jefferson. The week of the last week of the regular season. Now he goes down. It's like this team can't catch a break. So now looking at an early, getting an early start to this offseason now, a lot earlier than they thought they would be, right? Losing their first playoff game this year. I think the Lions quite simply just need to focus on pass rush still, right? And offensive line a little bit are two spots that I'm really honing in on for the Lions because starting with the obvious one, the pass rush is the biggest question, I still believe, because at their healthiest, when they get guys like Malcolm Rodriguez back or Kendrick Barnes back or um, Carlton Davis, if they're able to re-sign him, also, a lot of these guys that were injured, Aiden Hutchinson when he's healthy, with all those guys back, this team is very good. But even then, I still think they need a little bit more help when it comes to that defensive line because it looked like Aiden Hutchinson was doing it all last season, right? That's why he was getting a lot of the attention for defensive player of the year, right? He was doing it all for this Lions team. He was leading the NFL in sacks at one point. He was definitely leading this team in sacks all season long, and that's why it was so devastating when he got hurt. Not only that, it was in a game that really didn't matter at that point because the Lions were already killing the Cowboys at that point, but just when he went down, you saw the severity of it, and just like it was during this guy's like breakout season. So for him to get hurt like that, and for everybody to quickly realize that that injury and the loss of Aiden Hutchinson to their pass rush was really going to make a huge impact to the overall look of their defense. And it got a little bit better when they brought in Darius Smith, right? That help was very much needed, but I still like to see them add guys that we've mentioned already before. Funny enough, with the Packers already talking about them and the Bears a little bit as well, right? The same guys are still out there that the Lions can go out there and get in free agency, like your Hassan Reddicks, like your Josh Sweats, or your Chase Youngs potentially, or Oza Adigizua out there from the Dallas Cowboys, right? These free agents would be great additions to any of these teams, and the Lions fall into that category as well. So I'm sure they're going to be looking at pass rushers to add on to form some sort of duo with Aiden Hutchinson would be great to see, or in the draft, right? They're picking. Where are they picking? I want to say somewhere like I'm gonna go check now, but I think it's somewhere like 25 or 26 or something like that. It's definitely late, obviously, because they made it to the divisional round. So I want to say somewhere around 25 is where the Lions are picking, but just to double check here, so I am 100% sure they're picking at 20, where are they? 28. They're picking at 28. All right, so a little bit further back than we thought, but at 28, still the same emphasis and attention should go to that pass rush if they haven't added already to it in free agency. So guys like Mike Green from Marshall, who is getting a lot of attention, so he might not be there by 28, but he's someone that's very intriguing. He led the entirety of college football this year in sacks. Also, you got a guy like James Pierce from the University of Tennessee, who's already projected to go around that range in the draft. So looking at one of those two guys would be a nice addition as well. Not only talent-wise, but getting a little bit younger isn't a bad thing, is always a good thing. So those are the options when it comes to just themselves, right? When it comes to their own incentive to go out and do something, signing someone or drafting someone, I think that's where the Lions should be focusing on. But we just finished talking about Myles Garrett, and we mentioned this team as one of the teams that could go out and trade for him. So, of course, we could point out the Myles Garrett trade, right? If you want to talk about adding some pass rush, I don't think you can make any bigger addition than trading for a guy like Myles Garrett. And, when you're picking so late, I don't think you have a problem. The Lions are in a spot right now where, yes, this season was not great, but they're in a spot right now where I could trade 3 first-round picks and kind of project going forward, right? Because this isn't like say the Falcons, right? The Falcons are still kind of teetering on being like a perennial playoff team and just kind of being in and out of it, right? So you look at them, and for them to trade 3 first-round picks, you're looking at maybe from anywhere from 16 to like number 5, right? If things go very bad, they could be picking top 5 or something like that. But if they do close to where their projections say they should be, you're talking about 16 to like 20 range, right? So yes, those first round picks would be valued a little bit more because they're earlier, right, in the draft. But when you're looking at the Lions, right, Amon-Ra's not going anywhere. Jameson Williams is not going anywhere. Jared Goff's not going anywhere. Sam Laporta, Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, Jack Campbell, all these guys are very, very young, and the Lions are very, very good. Jahmyr Gibbs, another one. None of these guys are going anywhere. So the Lions are going to be top 3 in the NFC for years to come. So for them, I think trading 3 first-round picks to get a guy like Myles Garrett, you're going to be picking like after 26 every year, I think, for the next 3 years at least. So I think that's something that they could truly explore because you're projecting now, right? And I know that's still risky, but the Lions, I don't think a lot of people would say that they're going to pick earlier than like 23 each and every year going forward, right? So I think with the Lions, they're in a good spot right now to trade maybe one more first-round pick to make it 3, and it wouldn't be as bad because you're going to be picking late anyway. And I know that's still of high value and things like that, but it's not as much as it is for a team like the Falcons, right, to go out and get Myles Garrett. So, I mean, could you imagine pairing Aiden Hutchinson with Myles Garrett? It would be stupid. It would be stupid for both those guys to end up on the same team. But, crazier things have happened a little bit. Not that many, but I feel like, we've talked about a few of the crazy things that have happened recently. So this would not be, too far out of the realm of possibility, in my opinion. So I think pass rush, just focusing in on that is definitely their biggest need. But you could also look at offensive line, like I mentioned a little bit, because their starting guard, Kevin Zeitler, is going to be a free agent, so you could lose a starter there. Also, you got 3 guys over the age of 30, so if you want to talk about projecting a little bit more, how much longer are you going to have those guys around playing at an elite level, right? Do you go out and get younger at those spots, get some cheaper options potentially there, or do you draft some guys at these positions earlier than maybe a lot of people think you are? That's something that I think they could consider with like a second round, third round pick, but it's not up there with pass rush. I think pass rush, no question, has to be their biggest concern, but offensive line, they could start to kind of retool some of these spots to try and get a little bit younger, but I think that's just more reserved for the draft. I would anticipate for the Lions, I think if I'm like Brad Holmes and I'm like Dan Campbell, I would really look for a way to add Myles Garrett one, but just add to this pass rush anyway. that they can. And wide receiver also could be a sneaky spot where they want to get better, right? I mean, I like Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown's great, but maybe you add another guy to that. I don't know, like a cheap veteran as of right now. I don't have any names at the top of my head, but I think that could be something else if you really wanted to go out there and test the market. But they got the pieces to make a run at it again next year. So they're in a very good spot, but I will say the biggest potential dark horse, kind of factor in all of this is losing so many guys on your coaching staff. That might not be such a big deal when a lot of people look at these players that I pointed out, but you look at the Eagles when they lost Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, right? And they promoted from within, how that team looked very different the next year. So that's my only concern, but it's hard to be really bad if you had a guy like Myles Garrett. So I'm hoping they're the team to go out and get Myles. I think that would be awesome to see. Pretty ridiculous, but we'll see where they go. But the Lions, I think pass rush is one of their biggest concerns. So we'll leave that topic there, and we'll move on to the last segment on today's show, going over to Florida once again and talking about Liam Cohen, this time in regards to Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield had some things to say about his former offensive coordinator and how he could have a huge impact on Trevor Lawrence. So tune back in to see what Baker Mayfield had to say about Trevor Lawrence and Liam Cohen when we return on the Chip Shot Football Podcast.